So, where do we start? Bilbao is one of the most, if not the most important cities on the north coast of Spain. It is the capital of the Basque Country, or País Vasco in Spanish. And some of you may know about the separatist movement and the dark moments from the recent past, but the city definitely has moved on. All you need to know is that the people here have very certain way of doing things, and they don't like it when you tell them what to do. So without further ado, let's get it started. Bilbao is located in the north-central part of Spain, only 16 kilometers or 10 miles south of the Bay of Biscay and its coastline. It is the 10th largest city in Spain with a population of 345,000, but the metropolitan area has more than 1 million inhabitants, making it one of the most populous metropolitan areas in northern Spain. The city's glorious industrial background has intertwined with the massive redevelopment that took place in the 80s. Bilbao originated as a settlement of seafaring people on the banks of the Nerbion River. The inhabitants began to export the iron ore found in large quantities along their region and the products of their ironworks, which became well known in Europe. In the 13th century, this early settlement of sea traders and iron workers was given the privilege of self-government in an independent municipality. I'm sorry if you don't like history, but this is actually an important historical context that explains, among other things, why it is called the Basque Country, even though it's not an independent country. We'll talk more about the language, the people, and the culture later on, but first, let's have a look at the map. The Basque Country is only about 21,000 kilometers, which might sound like little, but it's in fact more than 60% of the territory of Belgium and half of the territory of Switzerland. With a total population of almost 3 million, the Basque Country is one of the most important regions of Spain. The three major cities of the province are Bilbao, obviously, Vitoria, and San Sebastian. I am definitely not giving you any lessons in Basque, but just have a look at the names of these towns. Iratzagorria, Arancudiaga, and Gaztelugatxeko-Doñene. You get the idea. If you look at the city map of Bilbao, it looks a little bit like a beheaded mini-Italy. It is a typical hills around the river setting, where the natural progression of the city is based around the river. That same river that has been so important for the development of the entire region. Let's have a look at some of the neighborhoods of Bilbao. Old Town, undoubtedly the heart of the city. Charming houses, a lot of socializing going on at the street level thanks to the many bars and shops in the area. Great for single people and young couples looking to make friends quickly and enjoy the nights of Bilbao. It has the biggest closed market in all Europe. Deusto. Best area for students. It is in close proximity to the university, very well linked with the rest of the city and with many shops and services nearby. Surrounded by the river San Mames and the Guggenheim Museum, so there's something for everyone here. Indauchi and Santucho. Great cultural scene and lovely walks. Matrico and Castaños. The classic neighborhoods of the city. They still hold their bourgeois past. San Ignacio, one of the most appreciated neighborhoods by the people of Bilbao due to its great combination of tranquility, services, and its proximity to the city center, perfect for families with children. Aranguiti, a small neighborhood close to Deusto, very quiet and with great personality, next to the Mount Banderas and within a walking distance to the city center. Abando, the most residential neighborhood in the city center, high quality housing in a small oasis within the center of the city. Begonia, well, that applies to Santucho too, good area to live in due to the numerous commercial and recreational areas, definitely on the more affordable side. Sometimes I wish these series were actually a podcast because there's so much to discuss and we're running out of time and we haven't even started talking about quality of life. Bilbao is actually a great city to live that combines well modern living with high quality of life. You might think it's a small-sized city, but you would be surprised how much wealth and cultural events are concentrated here. The city is very well connected to its airport, and there is a second airport 40 minutes away by car, close to Vitoria. Not to mention that wherever you choose to live, you will be able to enjoy both the mountains and the sea. The Pyrenees are about 3 hours away by car, and Picos de Europa are only 2.5 hours away. Closer destinations are Parque Natural de Gorbea and Urbaidai Biosphere e Reserva. Bilbao and the Basque Country are more expensive than anywhere else in Spain. That's right, Bilbao is more expensive than Madrid, more expensive than Barcelona, in broad terms of course. Renting one bedroom flat in the city center would cost you somewhere around 700 euros, And then we're talking about 3 euros for a pint and from 2 to 4 euros for the famous pinchos. The port of Bilbao is one of the top 5 most important ports in Spain, and it generates more than 10,000 jobs. 1,000 years later, the city still exports iron to all of Europe, and it has developed its mining and steel industries. After its industrial crisis, the city focused heavily on developing its commerce and service sectors. That's why nowadays you'll find more than 100 prominent national and international companies with their headquarters here in Bilbao. I'm talking about companies such as Iberdrola and IDOM. Public utilities in Bilbao, such as electricity, water, public transport, are of top quality. The city has more than 400 free Wi-Fi areas throughout its territory, and not to mention that the people here take cleaning seriously. And by seriously, I mean capital letters seriously. Seriously enough to reduce the maximum speed to 30 kilometers per hour for pretty much all of the streets in the city. Along with this, there's a strong commitment to electrification of transportation and all of that green stuff. Additionally, the paper recycle rate in Bilbao is twice as big as for the rest of Spain. Speaking of green, Bilbao is literally one of the greenest cities in Spain, but that is a common trend for all major cities on the north coast of Spain. Unfortunately for some, this is thanks to the heavy rainfall throughout the entire year. So heavy that the city has more rainy days than London, for example. Check it if you don't believe me, but now it's time to move on to the people of Bilbao. The Basques are one of the oldest ethnic groups in Spain. They have continuously survived the invasions of the Visigoths, the Romans, and the Arabs. They're also very famous for their friendliness, their zeal, and their sensible approach to life. Having survived so many attacks during the centuries and being oppressed during the Civil War in Spain, they are now fiercely proud of their heritage, attested by these flags, for example, especially present in the smaller towns of the Basque Country. However, I heard that the region's pro-independence movement was something new to the region because apparently 60 years ago there was nothing like this present in the Basque Country. So it has gained traction over the last couple of decades. Festivals, public schools, and pretty much every single cultural event organized or supported by the city hall will have strong political ties of independence. Anyway, I promise I'm not gonna talk about politics, so although it's really difficult. Speaking of all of this, we now need to mention the local language, euskera. Although calling it the local language is already quite politically charged, so we need to look at the facts. Approximately 28% of the population of the Basque Country speaks Basque, and about 16% are passive speakers, meaning they understand it but they have difficulty speaking it. Of course, this is a cause for a huge debate whether to have it taught in schools and what should the primary language be. From what I know, the Basque is now the main language taught in schools here, and Spanish is kind of treated like English in other countries, if that makes sense. In all fairness, euskera is one of the very few non-Indo-European languages in Europe and the only language isolate on the continent, so I understand why people are proud of it. The most common theory is that the origins of the language date back to prehistoric Europe. For example, words such as knife, aitzto, axe, aitzkorla, and hoe, aitztur, appear to derive from the word stone, heights. In the end, despite being in Spain, many institutions, I think pretty much all of them will ask you to speak in euskera, and you'll see the language everywhere from menus to train schedules to newspapers, so you might need to learn some. Also, because it's so heavily promoted by the local party, it might be quite difficult for you to organize any cultural event and secure funding, especially if you do it only in Spanish. But you didn't hear that from me. Anyway, let's move on before this video has become a political bomb, although we might have passed that moment already. I must start with the dining scene in Bilbao because it is absolutely out of this world. Here you'll find Michelin-starred restaurants, buzzing pincho bars, and family-run restaurants with great traditions, all offering a different take on the Basque cuisine. I have been to many cities in Europe, and for me personally, from all of those cities, Bilbao has the best cuisine hands down. The way they mix their ingredients, the creative spectrum of food combinations, the presentation, the sheer quality of the ingredients makes Bilbao a top gastronomical destination. One reason for their richness in culinary experiences is definitely the choco. A choco is a typically Basque type of closed gastronomical society where men come together to cook, experiment with new ways of cooking, eat, and socialize. It is believed that nowadays there are more than 1,000 of those societies, obviously open for women as well, and some of them have been going on for centuries. The Basque spirit is very much alive in performing arts halls like the Eusko Duna Palace, and of course there's the notorious Estadio San Mames, where the 100% Basque team of Athletic Bilbao take the field. The team is a great symbol of Basque pride all across the region. Another piece of evidence that shows that the people from the Basque Country do business really well is that the province now has 3 football teams in La Liga, and this is quite impressive considering the size of the province and the fact that many other autonomous regions in Spain do not have even one. Stone lifting and log cutting are considered traditional Basque sports, as is pelota, a cross between handball and squash played at incredible speed. During Semana Grande, or Asta Nagusia, the whole of Bilbao turns into a week-long party. A street party to rival all street parties, this is the biggest festival in northern Spain. For 9 days in August, more than 100,000 people pass through the city to enjoy music, fireworks, bullfights, regattas, fights with eggs and flour, and whatnot. I have been there only for one very ordinary festive weekend in February, and all of the streets of the old town were sticky from pouring the alcohol the night before that, so you can imagine the scenes in August. But anyway, let's now finish this video off with some of the notable sites you should visit in Bilbao. The Guggenheim Museum, obviously. It has become the symbol of Bilbao, and rightfully so. Eat your way through the city's pinchos bars, from Victor Montes to El Guobo to El Huevo Frito, there are just too many to list. Get lost in Casco Viejo, or Bilbao's Old Town, where you can see the Cathedral de Santiago de Bilbao, the Archaeological Museum, and the churches of San Nicolas and San Anton. Right to the top of the Mount Archanda, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, for fantastic city views. And for the fans of Game of Thrones, I must say it, visit San Juan de Gaztelugatxe. This is only 35 kilometers from Bilbao. Well, that's it all for today from Bilbao. If you enjoyed this video, please give me the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel because it definitely helps me a lot. And as always, hasta luego chicos.